heavens and the earth. I know there's a reason for the created births.
Welcome to the Blue Halo Podcast and this mini Halo episode, which is part 4 of the Beatitudes series. I'm Jeff Wamble, and today we'll be discussing the third Beatitude Jesus spoke of during the Sermon on the Mount, that being, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Let's get to it. So, blessed are the meek. Raises some serious questions, doesn't it? Right off the bat. I mean, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Does that mean, in the end, the weakest among us? Those people will get to inherit the earth? And what does it mean to be meek anyway? Maybe meek doesn't mean weak, like many of us think it does. If not, what is it? What does it mean? Does meekness equal weakness? So many questions. And why does Jesus promise the earth to the meek and not the strong? Why the meek? These are big questions. And I'm sure you know by now, God will provide big answers. And he will show us his way is the right way. Let's start by unpacking the word meek. Let's define it for our purposes here. Now, in modern English, meek often sounds like mild, doesn't it? Or timid, maybe. Spineless. Now, I said modern English. That's maybe how we see it now. But that's not what Jesus meant. Our version is surface level. We have to dig a little bit deeper. So let's do that. Let's dig. The Greek word we need to look at here is pros. P-R-A-U-S. Okay, not the modern English definition of meek. Pros is the word that means strength under control. Imagine a wild horse that's been trained, not broken, but trained to be guided. It's still strong, and it's still powerful, but it's now directed. That's meekness. Jesus described himself as meek and lowly in heart, and he did that in Matthew chapter 11, verse 29. And yet we know Jesus flipped tables, don't we? Literally flipped tables. He rebuked religious leaders. He got in their faces. And he endured suffering. We all know that. Terrible, terrible suffering. And he did it without retaliation. Is that weakness? No way. So meekness isn't weakness. It's power harnessed by humility. Think of your own life. Can you think of a time when you were strong enough to hold back, when you had every right to fight or lash out? That's the spirit of meekness. This is what Jesus is talking about. In the Roman Empire, meekness wasn't a virtue. Now, why do I bring this up, the Roman Empire? It's because the Romans were in power at this time in history. They set many of the standards for society at that time. But Jesus didn't care. He didn't care what the Roman standards were. He's doing God's work. People of prominence come and go. Countries that dominate other countries come and go over time. The Roman Empire is no longer the dominant force in the world like it once was. And someday neither will the United States be, probably. And that's because what Jesus is teaching has nothing to do with who is in power or what country or empire is the dominant force. In John chapter 3, verse 17, it says, "For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn it, but to," what? "Save it through him." That applies to all eras. That applies to all periods of time, whether it was during the Roman Empire or during the year 2025. Jesus is saving us from sin, not from each other. So when I said that in the Roman Empire, meekness was not a virtue, that's because at that time, power and dominance and even assertion were praised. Caesar ruled with an iron fist. The world admired strength, not gentleness. So when Jesus says the meek will inherit the earth, it's revolutionary. It's revolutionary for that time. He's flipping the world's values upside down. Think about Moses for a second. In Hebrew tradition, meekness was linked with righteousness. And Moses, in Numbers chapter 12, verse 3, was described as, quote, "more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth," unquote. And that's even considering that he led an entire nation out of slavery. His meekness didn't stop him. didn't stop him from confronting Pharaoh, and it didn't stop him from leading with courage either. So biblical meekness, as Jesus is teaching, it's not being passive or being weak. What it really is having trust in God over our own self-assertion. And that makes sense. Now, what does the second half of the Beatitude mean? The inherit the earth part. Sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it? Someone gets to inherit the earth? Yeah, apparently it's the meek. Nice. What does this really mean, though? What is Jesus promising here? Let's go back a little bit in the Bible to the Old Testament and Psalm 37. Psalm 37 says, "But the meek shall inherit the land and delight themselves in abundant peace." Sounds similar, doesn't it? The meek will inherit land. My guess is that it means the promised land. And not only that, abundant peace, meaning that God's justice will prevail. I think that's great. I think it's similar, like I said, but I think what Jesus said may go a little deeper. Jesus uses the words inherit the earth. What do you think that means? Could mean a lot of things. Could mean future hope. When God renews earth, maybe this means the humble will reign in his kingdom. And it could mean the earth isn't just a physical place, but it's also a spiritual place. So inheriting the earth could be the spiritual inheritance of things like peace and joy and righteousness, things like that. Maybe it means we will inherit the blessings of God. Actually, it's probably some combination, or maybe all of it. I know I'm throwing a lot at you here, a lot of what ifs, because I don't have an exact answer. Now, on the flip side, think about the use of the word inherit. I mean, in contrast to those who say steal or hoard or conquer or take, the meek receive, don't they? They don't seize the earth. They inherit it. They inherit it because they're worthy. Are we worthy? Are you? Am I? I hope so. Let me wrap things up with this. What does meekness look like in 2025? Not weakness, but the word praus, meaning strength under control. Are you a leader in your community or maybe in the workplace, within your family for that matter? Are you a good listener in whatever capacity? Do you listen more than speak? We've all heard that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we listen twice as much as we speak. It's true. We should be swift to listen. We should be slow to speak, and we should be slow to anger. I'm still working to improve on this one. But do you give credit where credit's due? Do you give credit instead of demanding it? I hope so. Or in your relationships, how do you treat other people? How do you treat the other person, especially if you have a disagreement? Or in social situations in your community, how do you, let's say, move to make changes if you think changes are needed? Can you do it tactfully, with words, without insulting? Can you make a solid case? And can you do it without becoming the thing you oppose? You see, the meek are peacemakers. They're bridge builders and listeners. They're firm in their conviction, but they're also gentle at the same time. Meekness does mean being slow to anger, and it means being quick to forgive, but it doesn't mean you don't care. What it does mean is that you care deeply enough to lead with love and not ego. C.S. Lewis, as you probably know, had a lot of great writings. He had a lot of great ideas. And he had a belief about being humble and meek that I want to share. It goes like this. Meekness is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. That's a great statement, and it leads us to the ultimate picture of meekness. Jesus, of course. It would be hard to argue that he wasn't meek. On the cross, Jesus could have called down legions of angels to help him, but he didn't. What did he do instead? He prayed, didn't he? He said, "Father, forgive them." He asked for the people crucifying him to be forgiven. Think about this too. Jesus was silent before his accusers, remember? But he was powerful in his obedience to God. He gave up heaven to embrace earth and to save us. And through his meekness, he conquered death. So let the words of this beatitude settle in your heart. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Not the proud, not the powerful, but the meek. And not because they fight for it, but because God gives it. That's it for today, folks. Thanks for listening. Until next time, I hope you stay humble, stay hopeful, and stay worthy of God's blessings.